Hi everyone, just before we get into another episode of What a Load of Bulls, we just want to give a shout out to our partners, Newcastle Car and Truck Rental. Newcastle Car and Truck Rental are a locally owned company servicing Newcastle and the Hunter. Todd, Holden and family pride themselves on being part of the local community, and you feel that when you step through their doors. It isn't a different person every time you call, it's the same people taking care of business and taking care of you. So next time you're in need of a rental, be it a truck to move, a ute for those everyday DIY jobs, or a car to get the family around on a day out, be sure to contact the team at Newcastle Car and Truck Rental by visiting www.newcastlerental.com or by calling 02 49 081 081. And don't forget to tell them DJ and Simon sent you. Welcome back, everyone. The Bulls Academy brought us back again. It's the What a Load of Bulls podcast. Simon Little, give me an episode number check, please.
I believe it's episode 47.
For the 47th time, DJ Dilworth, Simon Little with the What a Load of Bulls podcast, the only podcast of lawn bowls worth listening to on the interweb. Welcome back, Simon. Mate, you've had a busy weekend of lawn bowls. So you have.
I have indeed. I was playing in the inter-regions over the weekend. Body's feeling pretty sore after 5 games over 3 days. Well, 2.5 days it ended up. But pretty sore. Ankles, knees, back. Yeah, but it's just getting old, as you well are aware of that.
For those that aren't familiar with the format, Simon mentioning that he played 5 games over 2 days was just to let everybody know that they made the semi-final. And that was just your roundabout way of saying that you made the semi, wasn't it, Simon?
It was, yeah. So we managed to win 3 group games. We topped our group and went through to the quarterfinals on the Sunday afternoon. Managed to be victorious there and played Monday morning in the semi-final against Metro Northwest. So guys, most of the teams from Maryland's Wenty Leagues kind of area. And yeah, sadly, the guys, we didn't make it through to the final, unfortunately, which was Monday afternoon. But look, it was a pretty good weekend. We had some really good results. The guys from Metro Northwest were actually in our same group as us, so we played them in the group stage and managed to
say that. Yeah, so you had to face them twice. So
we did, yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But so did it help them, mate, or did it hinder you, or was it just a case of on the day during that game they were just that bit better? Because as you said, you won your section, so you beat them in the group section.
We did, yeah, fairly convincingly. And look, I think it was a different venue. We played at Cabramatta for the semi-final, whereas our group games were all at Mount Lewis. So definitely a different pace of green and different conditions, really, in terms of the surface. Maybe suited them guys maybe a little bit more. But look, our guys are well used to playing on any type of surface, so it's not really a huge advantage at all. Yeah, look, just different day. We actually played the same 3 rinks, played same opposition as well.
Really?
Yeah.
So there's a disappointing thing for me, just to interject. Not like me. First of all, you played each other in the group stage.
Yeah.
Right? So to me, and I understand the change of venues and everything, but to me, you should not face them again until the final.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought the draw would be like. And when we got through to the quarterfinal, the guys were saying who were playing the quarterfinal. And also you look to see who you play then. Maybe after that, looking a game ahead. And I thought we would have been playing the guys from the other sections. But as then the guys pointed out to me, now we're going to probably end up playing, sort of the same guys again. And that was disappointing that's the way the draw was. But
The reason is because when you transferred to Cabramatta for the semi, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So when you transferred from Mount Lewis to Cabramatta, the other sections had already played at Cabramatta. There's a perceived unfair advantage there, which is why they think, well, them 2 teams will come over, they can just play each other again. So you sort of understand it. So look at the number ones in a couple of weeks' time that we're going to. We're all playing at Edalong. So I think that's going to be true for us, where we don't play the same person in your section till the final because you're at the same venue. I just don't think it makes a difference at that level, though. You know, like you're playing the elite there. It's the best of the best from every region, including platinum players, grade 1 players, whatever it is. So it's one thing I don't like, but mate, you can change the draw. 1 can play 2, 2 can play 3, 3 can play 1. Like, you shouldn't have to play. I wonder, was that a mistake? I mean, you shouldn't have to play the same rink again.
It was a bit of deja vu. Semi-final morning, rocking up the same blokes again. Look, at Metro Northwest guys, they changed their rinks slightly. They had a couple of different swaps over on a couple of different rinks, so it wasn't the same 4 guys. We had the same 3 guys playing against us, but like it felt pretty deja vu. But sadly, the result wasn't deja vu. But look, it was pretty close for a majority of the way. And the guy Metro Northwest, they just pulled away. They scored a few multiples across all 3 rinks, and all of a sudden, from a few shots behind, we were like 15, 18 shots behind, and you start, scratching at trying to find multiples rather than taking 1s and 2s, and it just doesn't end up well whenever you start chasing shots like that. So, especially against some red hot players, and yeah.
So just before we get deeper into that, so earlier in the week, the senior men played.
Yep.
And Illawarra made it through to the final to play against Mid-North Coast. Illawarra came in on top of that one. 1 rink just up in that game, mate. It was 8-2 if you base it on points, but obviously in final it's only on the big board. 65-55. So it wasn't that final. And it was the Robbie Warren rink that got up 28-15 over Peter Taylor. In the other games, Greg Brims, I beg your pardon, from the Mid-North Coast, got over Johnny Green 20-18. And then Rodney Farmer got over Eric Johannes 20-19. Some legends there, isn't it, you're mentioning? But that was the seniors. So after they'd finished, then you converged all down into that area. And as we mentioned last week, it was men and the women for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Very interesting to see, mate, that Metro Northwest, and Metro Southwest, made both finals.
Yeah, men's and women. Yeah, it was just a replay.
Yeah, men's and women. So that would have made it for. I don't know. Did you hang around and watch the final?
No, I didn't. No, sorry.
Nah, bad loser took off.
Yeah. No, I did pick Ellie up from daycare. So yeah, no.
Well, who would have picked Ellie up from daycare if you had won the semi-final?
That would have been my lovely missus, but brownie points, and so I'm going to be just here bowls over the next few days.
I'm just hearing excuses, but it's all right. You go on. Yeah, I'll get a text message from Vanessa this week. But yeah, I mean, I think I would have made for a pretty good spectacle, like to have, like I said, the men and the women from both those regions playing off, and not only that, we had the same winner in both, didn't we?
We did, yep. Metro Southwest, which is the old Zone 12, aka St. John's Park, Cabramatta, and that's men and women victorious.
Not a bad head out for them. So that was inter-region. Yeah, just to look at those final results, mate. In the men's one, as you said, Metro Southwest 64 points over Metro Northwest 46 points. And in the women's one, a little bit closer, Metro Southwest 61 shots up against Metro Northwest 54 shots. So yeah, very close all around. Well done to all those players. And that leads us on to most of them players will be playing at Cabramatta again this weekend with the finals and the final round 11 of the infamous Platinum Pennant. So how's that looking, mate? I've had a good look at it. I'm pretty interested in this. Bulls New South Wales give me the call up. I'm heading down for some guest commentary on the Thursday and the Friday. So I keep forgetting that you're down there, mate, because Tarrant Point the season they've had. But yeah, we will be able to catch up down there, mate. Looking forward to it. So lay of the land, mate. Right, we're into round 11. Jump in whenever you feel you need to. So they split the rounds. There's going to be 2 live stream games on. So they got 2 games being played at 1 o'clock, and then they've got the other 4 games being played at 5:30. All at Cabra.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How it sits at the minute. Maryland's Magic. They are minor premiers. No matter what happens to them in round 11, they cannot be passed. So they're going to play 1 o'clock on the Thursday afternoon, and then they won't play again until 1 o'clock on the Friday afternoon. That's their benefit of being minor premiers. Tarrant Point gone. I know you're only. There's a minor miracle in there. If you can get up 10-0 in your game. Yeah, if you can get up 10-0 in your game and by quite a few shots, and Mount Lewis and Belrose both don't pick up any rink points, they could both go down and you could stay up. All right, but you need to go 10-0 against Raymond Terrace. All right, that's one game that we're going to look at. Raymond Terrace currently sit in 4th spot. Okay, so as we said, Maryland's Magic Minor Premiers. It's a top 5 final series where 2 will play 3, 4 will play 5. The loser of 4 and 5 go on. The winner of 4 and 5 plays the loser of 2 and 3. The winner of 2 and 3 plays Minor Premiers. All right. Winner of that game goes straight through the grand final. Loser of that gets another crack against the winner of the other game, and then they're into the grand final. So, for anyone listening to us from the UK, a little bit different to what we're used to, but it's just how the Australians like to do things out here. It's an interesting way to do things. It's not just first past the post like we just seen Liverpool do in the English Premier League. There's a minor premiership and a benefit of sitting a game out. But what else is happening around the traps? Like we mentioned you guys, mate, right? We'll go down to you first, and you can talk a bit about the season as well and how difficult it has been for you. But you are playing Raymond Terrace. Raymond Terrace's position, they currently sit on 66 points in 4th place. Now, that's only 2 points ahead of Cabramatta. All right? But precariously enough, there's only 7.5 ahead of Engadine Cougars. All righty? So, mindset for Simon Little and the Tarrant Point Scorchers leading into the final game.
Yeah, look, it's been a bit of a struggle street of a season, but we've had a few games where it's been close enough. I think there's just periods of each game where, whether it be the middle third or the last third, we've kind of just let our guard down a bit and not stepped it up or played some of those big balls that we need to, or front ends just have slackened off a little bit and not built the heads or let the opposition in. So it's kind of some really good balls at times, and there's been some really good fight, but not sustained over 63 ends of bowls, and I think that's where we've been lacking really, and that comes to bite you when you're playing against really good opposition week in, week out. There's no teams in platinum pennants where you can back off for a third of the game or half the game and expect to win then. So I think that's where we have been lacking, and it shows the quality of all the teams that are in platinum pennants. Really, I think that every game you have to bring your best, and you can't show up and play 50%, 60% of your game and hope to struggle through and get a win. That's not going to happen. And I think teams that want to succeed in platinum pennants are going to need 12 really good players and a solid outfit to make the finals, because I think that's the quality that's the platinum pennants is going to provide. So yeah, it's been difficult, but look, we'll go out last game and just give it our best, and there's still a chance. It might be a very slim chance, but there's still a slim chance that we can avoid relegation. But we'll go out and give it our all, and certainly for the competition, we'll be going out to try and win 10-0. Absolutely.
Good to hear. Has there been much talk this week about it, mate, or is it just all systems go, everyone be at the venue, we're going to play, let's see how we go? Or have you set any mini targets within the game to try and get this up? Are you playing for pride, or spoke about?
There's a couple of us played in the interregions, myself, Fraser, Axe, and young Kyle. So look, we all performed really good, I think, over the weekend, and provided some good wins over those five games that we played. So I mean, that's a positive we can take in, at least from us 4 players that played some solid bowls over the weekend, and definitely was a good preparation, because we played one game at Cabramatta, so we have an idea of one of the grass greens if we end up on that green. But look, there's been not much chat on the group chat, really just sort of let's go out there and give it our all to finish off the season. It's not what we all wanted, but we'll go out there and chins up and try and give it the best we can.
Well, mate, all the best to you. Look, man, we've had a fair bit of laugh on it, both in group chats and obviously talking on the podcast here. But I don't like to see us struggle as badly as you have. But if you didn't laugh, you'd probably cry. Absolutely. So all the best to you in the last game. I'm just going to hover around down there in that relegation battle. So relegation is the new thing this year. Tarrant Point, man, I don't even think uphill battle describes what you've got. But as we have talked, mathematically, it is possible that you can stay up. The other place, right, 9.5 above you is Mount Lewis. Half a point ahead of that is Belrose.
Yeah.
Right? So they're probably the favorite next two to take that other relegation spot with Tarrant Point.
Absolutely.
If the bookmakers are putting anything out there, all right? Carlingford Koalas are just ahead again, 6.5 points ahead of Belrose. So they are. So what's that? 7 points in ahead of Mount Lewis. So there is a chance Carlingford could go down. All right? Belrose are playing against St. John's Park. Now, not a lot of people would have picked St. John's Park to miss the top 5. I know somebody did. That's become to fruition. So St. John's Park and Wenty leagues apparently, or not apparently, but theoretically have got nothing to play for. They can't go up, they can't go down.
Yep.
All right? So Belrose are going to be fighting out with St. John's Park to try and secure their future in the competition. So that's an interesting one at 5:30.
Yep.
Okay? Wenty leagues are playing Carlingford Koalas. And like we said as well, Wenty haven't got anything to play for. They can't get a top 5 spot. They're not going to get relegated. They are 11 points ahead of Belrose, so they can't go down. Interesting to see the mindset of St. John's and Wenty, whereas Belrose and Carlingford are going to be a little bit more desperate, you would think, because they want to keep their spot in the competition. Okay? So that's who they play. Mount Lewis have got the more uphill, or have got a more challenging battle because they're fighting hard to stay in. England Cougars have still got all to play for in a search for that top 5. Okay, they're 5.5 against Cabra, 5.5 behind Cabra, 6.5 behind Rima Terrace, and then 7.5 behind both East Milton and Warilla. Alrighty, so they've got every chance of still jumping in there with a win over Mount Lewis, which would obviously relegate Mount Lewis as well. Now that game's being played at 1 o'clock. Yeah, so that's going to really have an effect on mindsets on some of the other games being played later. Now the big game being played at 1 o'clock. As we said, Marylands have already won the minor premiership, so yeah, kick back, leave the shoes off, just relax. You're in the finals. Yeah. Have a head out of the Cabramatta Greens so you're ready for the finals, but they're playing Cabramatta. Now, this is effectively a knockout game for Cabramatta, depending on what happens, obviously, next door as well. But they're playing at the same time as the Engadine and Mount Lewis game, Marylands versus Cabra. This is effectively knockout for Cabra. So they are. Could you imagine a top 5 where Cabramatta and St. John's Park haven't made it after they've just won inter-regions as well? You know what I mean? Yeah. That's so they'll be fighting hard. They've got the finals. They're defending champions. They've got the finals at their own venue. They don't want to be missing out.
Absolutely not.
So luckily enough for all those watching and for yours truly who gets to go down and commentate on it, that's who the live stream game is at 1 o'clock on YouTube. Bowls New South Wales' YouTube. So
bit of a blockbuster.
Lineups: Carl Healy against Aaron Sheriff, Nick Cahill against David Ferguson, and on the live stream rink, I believe, if the information Lee Stinson has given me is correct, but he has been known to stitch me up. On rink 15, Cabramatta Bull Lance, Aaron Wilson versus Mason Lewis is the live stream game. So Cabramatta can win that one. It helps them basically stay in. The best Engadine can do is 68.5 points. Yeah, and any win does Cabramatta. Any win does Cabramatta, and that'll keep them in. And there's still could finish anywhere from 2 to 5. Alrighty, so that's a big one. Depending on how those results go, then has a massive effect on, well, one game in particular, East Maitland against Warilla Gorillas. So they currently sit second place for Warilla with 67 points. Third place for East Maitland, also on 67 points. Shot difference is massively in Warilla's favour, but that's not going to have much to do with it, depending on the result. Alrighty? So you've got a scenario where Engadine win. That's a very big game, that one. That's essentially a knockout game.
Yeah.
We go it's a knockout game. Cabramatta and Engadine both win at 1 o'clock. Then they're very, very nervously watching your game against Rima Terrace, which Rima Terrace have to be heavy favourites for.
Yeah.
That effectively, a Cabramatta win and an Engadine win would make that Warilla East Maitland game a knockout. You could go from second or third on the ladder to out in one round. That's how tight second to sixth is. Now, that's brilliant for the competition. And we raved about the competition last year, how it finished just in the final.
Yeah.
This round 11 shaping up pretty interesting. Like, from a neutral point of view, you nearly want to see Cabramatta get the win because it makes it interesting then for Maryland to have suffered that loss at the venue and then know they have to face Cabramatta again with a bit of momentum.
Yeah.
Engadine the win just to make that Warilla East Maitland game really interesting. And that, funnily enough, is the other live stream game at the 5:30 slot.
Yep.
So who have we got on that one? Rink 17, Corey Wedlock against Josh Walker-Davis. Rink 16, Aaron Tees against Shannon McElroy. And, oh, buddy, our good mate Ali Forsyth on the TV rink. He's playing Gary Kelly. Oh, and Lee Stinson's in there too, mate. This is heaven. We get to commentate on Lee Stinson and Ali Forsyth. And spoiler alert, folks, part 2 of Ali Forsyth's coming out with this podcast. So we get to talk about Ali, commentate on Ali, be in the same venue as Ali. Man, how good's that? Does it get any
Unreal. Unreal.
But anyway, back to it. Enough of that sarcasm. It's all shaping up very, very nicely for the final round of Platinum Pentiment. And then, as we said, that then jumps into, that's going to be played 1 o'clock. Round 11, split in 2 rounds, played at 1 o'clock. Cabramatta versus Maryland's on the live stream. Engadine versus Mount Lewis. Alrighty. Then we jump into the 5:30. We've got Raymond Terrace against Tarrant Point, St. John's Park against Belrose, Wenty Leagues against Carlingford Koalas, and the live stream game, second versus third, Warilla Gorillas versus East Maitland Griffins. Now, we said that's a big game if the other two teams win. Even if they don't, they're still fighting out to make sure they get in that second and third spot. Because second and third spot is key. Like we said, Platinum minor premiers, you get the first round of the finals off.
Mm-hmm.
Second and third, you get 2 bites of the cherry, so you can afford to lose a finals game and still go on to win. All right, so you'd rather finish. If you can't finish minor premiers, you want to finish in that 2 or 3 spot. And then it's 4 and 5, which is straight knockout. You cannot lose a game. You're in it till then. All right, so it's all still to play for me. I'm very excited to actually watch it, but to actually get down and commentate on it, I'm very, very excited for it. So what's your thoughts on the rest of the competition then?
Yeah, look, I think it's been a good decision that they have had this last round, all at the same venue. That's something different from the first season, which we just played it as a normal weekend kind of, where it was maybe a game on a Friday, game on a Saturday, different days. But the fact that they've made that little tweak, the way it's panned out, in terms of competition being so close, it really does make for a great sort of atmosphere at Cabramatta, and also, you know, the outcomes that could come of different results and who's going to do what. So I think having all those games being played, obviously we've got 2 games early, but those other games are going to be played around that, 5:30 time. I think it's going to be a really good atmosphere at Cabramatta. You're going to have a lot of noise, I reckon, between all the teams, and they'll all be looking over each other's shoulders to see what's going on in the other games. And I think it's going to be really good to actually play at that venue and be involved in that, even as though Tarrant Point might be already relegated by then. If Mount Lewis have already got a win, we could be relegated, but just to be involved in that and see what's going on and the outcomes and stuff, that's going to be really good, I think, from a playing point of view. But from a spectator point of view, I think if you get yourself down there, if you're in the Sydney region, get down to Cabramatta and you will see the elite of the elite playing all together. Go and watch a game for 5-6 ends, go and watch another game, see what's going on. Yeah, it's going to be a really good atmosphere, I reckon, at Cabramatta, and hopefully, that is a good sort of benchmark for Platinum Pennants and another positive going out there, and hopefully there's plenty of people get down and watch it and see what the outcomes are. But I think, looking at my point of view from Tarrant Point, I think just to be involved in it, even if our game may not have sort of much to do or reflection in the end, but to be next door to what's happening in other games, I think it'll be a really good evening.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's worked out well in the end, having round 11 all at the one venue. I know there was a lot of criticism early. So there was a lot of criticism, one, for being at Cabramatta. But I think everyone was just a bit nervy because Cabramatta were so dominant last year. So they were. But then look how they've gone this year. They've had their battles. And they say they've had their battles. They've played 10 games and won 7, and they still might miss top 5. It's just... It's unbelievable, but they've been blessed again with just how it's worked out, how it is so close. And like we said, there's a lot hinges on that Engadine Mount Lewis game. There's so much hinges on that. So it does. That's the circuit breaker for how everyone's mindset's going to be, and you got to adapt to how that goes. So at the minute, everyone's going in going, right, well, we know we win, we're in top 5. All right? But is it a case of, oh, wow, we have to win? Or is it a case of, right, we need to win to be above this to get that second or third spot, like I was telling you. 67, 67, 66, 64. That's second down to fifth. And then 58.5 for Engadine.
Yeah, I think what you just said there about mindset, that's going to be key. Like on all the teams that are going out there to play, it's what mindset are the players going to be in? Because every team that's involved, you've got quality players that can produce fantastic bowls and play great shots. But it's that mindset of the team and the players and individuals of, are we going out there to play our best bowls? Are we going out there we can slacken off a bit? It's going to be interesting. And the likes of, say, Raymond Terrace coming out to play Tyrone Point. They're going to look, Tyrone Point have won one game all season. We're going to walk all over these guys. It's that kind of mindset. Do you go out there and still try and produce your best bowls, or is it sort of in the back of your head, oh, this is going to be an easy game? Or, some of those other, like Engadine, Mount Lewis, Engadine might look at it and go, Mount Lewis have only won hardly any games all season either. They're going to be an easy ride. It's the mindset that's going to make the difference, I think, on Thursday, of how each individual player goes out there and the mindset of the team in general. We need to go out and play our best bowls today. Otherwise, we could end up in a variety of positions when it comes to the final dice roll.
Well, that is Platinum Pennant, mate. So, mate, like I said, very excited. And you're very excited to play, and I'm very excited to get down there and watch it. So many moving parts. It's going to be a great weekend of bowls. And hopefully, when we do get down to the final series, we get just as much entertainment as what we did last year as well.
Yeah.
So just to finish on that, mate, we're going to go back into the world of Mr. Ali Forsyth. So we did part 1 of Ali last week. We've brought part 2 with us this week. So ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you tuned in last week and you get to hear the rest of Ali Forsyth from now. Okay, mate. So back into just a few early parts of the career. So we mentioned earlier, 2007, mate, you made the move to Australia. So how did that actually come about? And it was at Raymond Terrace, wasn't it? Was it a tough call for you to leave on?
Yeah, so I was actually over in America playing in a bowls tournament at Laguna Beach. It was the Michael Ashton Phillips Invitational, and I was there with Richard Gervin. And Australia didn't have an official representation, but the invite ended up going to a couple of guys, Tony Scott and another bloke named the Champ, Johnny Bilby. And they were there, and they were both from the Newcastle region and played at Raymond Terrace. And it was at that point that we had a couple of conversations over a couple of quiets, and it was like, well, how about you come over for the Premier League the following season and see if you like it. So it was like, why not? It's a great opportunity to, New South Wales Premier League at that stage was, regarded as one of the best comps in the world, if not, certainly domestically, and a great opportunity to test your wares against some of the best players. There was already a couple of Kiwis over here at that point. Rowan Brassey and Russell Meyer and the likes were already over here and playing well. And I thought, what a great opportunity to try and improve my game and take it to the next level. Because as we talked about earlier, like over in New Zealand, I was probably playing 70% singles. So it was really an opportunity for me to really learn how to play the game of fours and a different perspective on our game. So it was like, yeah, bugger it, I'm keen to have a crack. And whilst it didn't work, like I only played the one season or half season at Raymond Terrace, it certainly fueled the fire enough that I was going to continue that and look for more opportunities, which ended up arriving at Tyrone Point.
Well, I was going to say, next season, then from there, you've seen the light, you've got out of Raymond Terrace, and you moved to Tyrone Point. And as part of that, mate, part of the most successful part of Tyrone Point's history. So how did that move then come around?
Well, so the guy that I was obviously there with in America originally, Richard Gervin, he was at Tyrone Point at the time, and he was pretty good mates with Wayne Turley, and so they, were pretty keen to get me down to Tyrone Point, and I was playing World Championships with Gervo in 08, so it's like, yeah, I'm pretty keen to have another crack. And like at that point, like Tyrone Point weren't even the strongest team in zone. I think it was zone 13. Is it zone 13? We were still getting it handed to us by Engadine at that stage. They had a really strong side, and it took us a while to really develop and build our side and culture, I guess, if you want to add that in there as well, to a level that, and we piece by piece we built it up. Johnny Green come to the club after we're back to Tyrone Point, and then Syth Ralphall, and obviously Stewie arrived, and it built to be a really, really strong side. And we absolutely loved going to war with each other each week, and it was always an absolute pleasure to go out there and play alongside those guys.
The culture was phenomenal. I mean, from the outside looking in, obviously I had a fair bit, well, not a fair bit to do, but a fair bit of connection there, obviously with Simon and being very close with Johnny Green as well. Yep. But from the outside looking in, the culture just looked phenomenal. Whatever Turley done, So yeah, we touched on it, mate. Talk us through those Tarrant Point days. You had a good 7 or 8 years there.
Yeah.
Mate, you had to live with Simon, which was obviously pretty tough on you both because you're both lacking a bit of hair up top at the minute. So that must have been pretty. I remember meeting you in the house one time. Oh, you had a full head of hair, mate, before Simon really got into you.
Oh, I think that's a lie.
There's no cue to the bathroom mirror, was it?
No, there definitely wasn't, especially with Nathan Bahadur in his head. But when you look at it, you're forgetting one major thing, that before I lived with Simon on Holt Road, I also lived at Paru. So I'd already spent a few years with Chrissy Green, Richard Gervin, Brendan Egan, and David Ellis. So
there's not a lot of hair there either.
So, well, there's a good reason for that. If you ever had a few nights on the drink with those boys, you'd pull your hair out too. No, we had a lot of fun, to be fair, but it was great. Like we all worked at the club. We spent a lot of time around each other, so we ended up spending a lot of time practicing on the green, and we were always mixing and mingling with all the members, and it makes a difference, and it's not just about the top side. What you learn, and when you're spending time around all of the club members, that everyone's playing in the same shirt, everyone's trying to get a win for the club, and and what. One of the things that Turles really installed into the club was, like you celebrate each other's successes, and we'd sit around at the end of a Saturday, and he's reading out all the scores, and everyone's getting a win, and it was bloody great. It was a big pump up, and it was an encouragement for everyone, every grade to come back, and who's won this week, all that sort of thing, and it was really infectious, and it's something that like I've tried to continue on to the clubs, coming down here to Melbourne, that like it's a one big club atmosphere, and if you get it's a really dangerous thing if you spend too much time just occupying, your efforts in and around one side, whether that's your top side or wherever. But it's playing for one shirt is so crucial for a club culture to go to the next level.
100%, mate. 100%. You can see the proof's in the pudding. So you can with a lot of clubs that have instilled that. It's starting to go really, really well for them. So yeah, absolutely. So good 7 or 8 years, like we said, made at Tarrant Point, very successful. 3 in a row, number one penalties won, Champions League, things like that there. Then you get the move to Victoria with Clayton, mate. So talk me through that. That must have been tough to leave Tarrant Point.
It was, mate. It was easily the toughest decision that I'd had to make at that point. So it was probably the end of January, early February, and I'd got a call from a couple of guys from the board from Clayton, and they knew that Graham Archer, who was the current bowls coordinator, was leaving in May. So they were keen for me to come down and have a couple of chats and see if I'd take over the role. And I was at a situation where, I wasn't holding down a full-time job where I was at Tarrant Point. So it was like, what a great opportunity. We'd pretty much covered and succeeded at everything at a club level with Tarrant Point. So it was like, well, why don't I branch out and try something, something different, something new, a new set of challenges. And I knew a couple of the guys at Clayton already, so it was one of those things that, look, why not? You can stay in your little comfortable bubble forever, or you can, get outside that and sort of test the waters and see how you go. And look, I've really enjoyed it. It's just ticked over 10 years now that I've been here, and yeah, bloody enjoying it still. So there's always challenges and different challenges, and sometimes you fall on your ass, but at the end of the day, there's a little bit of trial and error in everything you do, and as long as you're doing and making the right decisions for the club's best interest at heart, then people are pretty accepting when you make small mistakes.
Yeah, good. Well, mate, it says a lot when you're there for 10 years. I mean, there's not too many do it for that long of a period of time. Certainly, members get fed up with you. You get fed up with members. It's a challenging role. But we talked off air leading up to this, but you've got a few varied roles around the club. So what sort of stuff do you do now? I know they've advertised for a bowls coordinator recently that'll be coming up to work. So you've been coach. Do you just do bar work, maintenance? What type of stuff do you do around Clayton?
Right, so it has changed dramatically over the 10 years. So when I was there, I was the full bowls coordinator for probably the first 4 or 5 years. And then the role was sort of split up into two, where another guy took over a lot of the admin, and was a part-time role, and I sort of stuck with all the on-green stuff and then did a little bit of work behind the bar. And then unfortunately he passed away, so I sort of re-inherited some of that admin work, which I wasn't really that keen and fussed on. So from there, so I was up until pretty much like this week. I've still been the head coach. Well, Kelly's about to take that role on, and as you said, like we're about to appoint a bowls coordinator, which will sort of do most of the other stuff, which will mean that during the off season, I'll probably spend a little bit more time being the pokey supervisor and bar supervisor, which I'm okay, but it's still doing a little bit of the like setup for next year, a little bit of recruiting here and there, and a little bit of coaching, sort of helping Kel. So I'll be Kel's assistant rather than chief, and then we'll go from there. And just hoping that a few more hands, on rather than just leaving it for one person, is going to help enhance what we're trying to do at Clayton. And there's, with the roof going up, that there's going to be more work required, I guess, to get more people in the door. It's always that challenge of getting more people into a club door, and exciting times at Clayton. But just a few little, I guess, changes for me, which I'm quite open to, and looking forward to the next couple of years, which I'm locked into at Clayton.
So she's the boss at home. I'm going to be the boss at work. Now you're an absolute saint. You're an absolute saint.
Yes, but she doesn't have a driver's license, so she knows if she's not good to me, she's got to walk home.
And she didn't drop that in the other week, did she, Sam?
No, she did not. Eh?
We didn't drop.
So I've got that thing. That might be only a very small thing, but I've got that.
Yeah, you got something. Good on you, mate. Got to pass over to Simon. He's got a few questions I want to ask you. He's the coaching expert out of the two of us. I just talk rubbish, so he's going to talk. He's going to talk to you a bit about lab, just on the green stuff, mindset, things like that. There, mate.
Ali, so you would be one of the most intense competitors on the green, like without a doubt. Like being on the same team and the same rink as you for many years, that intensity and competition. Not only on the green, but also in other things as well that I've seen, socializing with you and living with you as well. An immense competitor and you love your sport. Mm-hmm. Talk us through that sort of mindset before a game. Like you're a real tough competitor. How do you get yourself up for a game, or what's that mindset leading into a game of bowls?
I guess before games, I'm actually trying to keep relatively calm and lighthearted, because like I really, as you've said, like I play on the edge. So like you can't be like that all the time, otherwise you'd self-combust probably. But like I've just found over the years, like if I'm not playing right to the edge, I'm not playing at my best. So you're trying to get yourself into a situation where you can, I guess, play at your best and succeed and give yourself every chance to play well. I guess, like over the years, like having someone like Chrissy Green play three to me was actually quite a good, like he was always light, jovial, and it was a really good balancing act for me, because, once again, I wasn't expecting that I was going to be right on the edge for, 21 ends, 4.5 hours, but, like at the point of like knowing what I needed, like that 30 seconds before playing a bowl, and how to fire myself up and really get ready to play that to the best of my ability, knowing that's when I'm at my best. So, but yeah, before the game, I'm trying to stay quite calm and low, and whether I'm listening to music or just having a joke with someone, and I'm probably just trying to run the game through my mind to a lesser level, just, how I want to play the game, who I'm playing against, and small strategies, trying to work out what I think their strengths and weaknesses are and where we want to play to make it hard for them.
Yeah, well, that kind of leads into my next question, and then that kind of game preparation. And do you go to the extent of choosing the right bowls? Because I know you've got multiple sets of bowls, and that differs for different greens. So how do you go about that? And looking at your opposition, and as you said, looking at maybe strengths and weaknesses. Is it mat, where you place the mat? Is it jack length, that kind of thing? What would you look at?
Yeah, so basically, I've narrowed it down to basically two sets, right? So I've been a Henslight kid for 15, 16, 17 years sort of thing, and I've got Tiger 2s and I've got XGs. And what I'm trying to achieve is basically taking as close to the same line as often as possible. So if the green's only running 13 seconds, I'll generally have the Tigers out, because I'm trying to have a turning point somewhere out near the boundary peg. And so if the green gets quicker, then obviously the XGs come into play so that I'm taking something similar. So that's my thought process behind that. And what, so just trying to read what the green's giving me. Singles might be slightly different. I'll more likely go to the straighter bowls because you haven't got to work around stuff. Certainly in games where there's more bowls involved and there's tends to be more short ones, that's where I'm more likely to go to the bendier bowl where I've got the chance to draw around stuff as well as play through. Yeah, as far as strategy goes, definitely looking at the opponent's strengths and weaknesses. Obviously, there's not a lot of secrets out there when you come up, against the better players, and with whether it's Victoria here or they're going up to New South Wales. The guys, you generally have a pretty good idea who are the really good attacking players, and who are the better draw players. And where the Matt and Jack goes has a massive bearing on that, and I'm sure they have the same for me. Like a lot of the teams against me will tend to go longer. Trying to make it harder for my aggressive game to be effective, so that and that sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. I can obviously in a game of fours, I've got two bowlers the same as everyone else, but trying to be as effective as possible with those two to then get the decision the next end to run our program and run our strengths. I tend to lean more towards my team's strengths rather than opponents' weaknesses, because you can become too focused on your opponent, but at the end of the day, the controllables say you can only control your bowls and your teammates to a certain degree and try and get to play to their strengths. If you're worried too much about your opponent, then that's stuff that you can't control, because whatever you do, they can still do something that you've got no control over. So there's an element of both, but I'd more be playing towards my strengths than an opponent's weaknesses.
Very good. I think maybe that's where they went wrong. Ellie was playing long heads because you could always sink a jack or into the ditch, and maybe they should have been going short so that the jack would have killed. You're always going to 9 times out of 10 you're going to hit your target, and maybe that's where they went wrong over the years.
And so that's one thing, right? So when I'm playing against a good aggressive player, I will generally drag the jack a heck of a lot away from the tee, just for that exact reason. I'm quite comfortable playing with the mat back and jack short. So that's one way that I look at it. But if I'm playing against someone who I think just draws shots, then I'll 100% have the jack somewhere around the tee. Because I'm backing my ability. If they draw close, I can smack my way out of trouble or whatever. But, look, at the end of the day too, tactics are only as good as the execution. So you can have all the tactics in the world, but if you don't play well, it doesn't matter what.
Yeah,
you're in trouble.
Absolutely.
Put that on a t-shirt. Put that on a t-shirt. Unbelievable. I've just picked up something from there. It's good to see the influence that Simon's had on your career. You said there about learning to draw around short stuff. So it's good to see that Simon has had an input on Ali Forsyth and where he is today.
Is that right, DJ? I've been on the end of some of Ali's death stares from the other end of the rink whenever you throw a bad ball. So we've been there, and I've definitely got that over the years. But that just makes you a better player, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about, Simon. I never have a death stare at all.
It was all for the greater good, and it worked in the end. So it did. We had great success on the green. So
it made for interesting discussion around the dinner table. Anyway,
it did. Yeah, it definitely did. We touched on your attacking game a little bit, and I would definitely, from the time I've played over here in Australia against the opposition, and I've been lucky enough to play against a lot of good players over here. As you said, that there's so many good players play over in Australia, and no matter what state, Victoria, New South Wales or Queensland, the three top states, you're always going to come against some really good players, and that's a club level. And Ali, you're definitely one of the best hitters of the game, drive shot opponents, and no doubt you would ask any of the elite players out there, and they will say exactly the same. Can we drill down into what does it take to have a really good drive? In your opinion, to hit consistently, what are some of the key components to that?
I think knowing how quick you go, and that takes a lot of practice. And I mean, we talk about practice aspects. The drive is an extremely important aspect. I would have practiced, no kidding, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours trying to perfect and Like, you go through stages of your game where some days your draw is good and some days your drive's good. But if my drive's no good, I will literally spend 10 hours the next week until, I'm nearly got a sore back that I've got it sorted out because, like it's such a crucial part of my game. So I don't go super quick.
Mm-hmm.
Like you look at, guys like Ryan Bester, Matty Flapper, like even some of the newer ones, Kane Nelson. I mean, they let them go at a fair clip, and they're pretty bloody good. But I've found for me that going at 80% or 80 to 90% and being able to really nail down that I'm not going to miss by more than a bowl either side if I miss. So I knew going at that I could maintain my control at a really high level. And visually I'm pretty strong. Like I know if I aim at the outside edge of a bowl that I go quick enough that I'm not going to bend under the inside part of the bowl, if that makes sense. So I go quick enough that I'm still only taking, like a minimal amount of green. But, and this is something that I've actually had to rediscover because, as I sort of mentioned a little bit earlier, I've had a few health issues that sort of blew my balance and equilibrium out a wee bit. I really had to spend a lot of time practicing and rediscovering my runs and drives. Mm-hmm. So, and it's not 100%, but it's pretty close. Like my backhand's probably as good as it's ever been. But my forehand, I've still got a little bit of work on, and that's something that over the next few weeks, I can promise you I will be practicing a hell of a lot leading into now the last weekend of New South Wales Platinum. So yeah, a lot of time practicing, and just knowing how quick I go. So it's sort of like a really, really consistent approach to it. Yeah. So that if something does go wrong, I'm going to be able to pick the bones out of it pretty quick and go, yep, I did that. I didn't get my backswing. So my backswing's not massive, but it's all about that momentum through. So because it's like a golf swing, right? Like the bigger the backswing, the more things can go wrong. So it's a slightly abbreviated backswing, but I know that I can get straight through to my target.
Yeah, very good. Some really interesting insights there into just the technical side of a drive and your thought process that goes through your mind whenever, not only when it goes wrong, but when it goes right, and picking the bones out of it and getting down. And I think a lot of people are maybe thinking, oh, well, he can just hit anything he wants, but it's that background hours that nobody sees, those hundreds and hundreds of hours on the green. And I think back to DJ that whenever we spoke to Turles about, he would go out and throw 1,000 up shots easy. Practicing. If he didn't think he thought he played well on a Saturday, he'd be out there Monday morning when the greenkeepers had finished or whatever, and out there chucking backhand drives or up shots because he wasn't happy. So it's that. Yep. You've got to put the work in, the effort in, and when something is going wrong, take a step back and have a think and break it down and have a think. Was it backswing, follow through? Am I holding the ball right? All those kind of little things, and really good to hear that from you.
And the visual approach is really important too. So actually playing, when you stand at the back of the mat, actually visualizing the shot. So am I going my 80 to 90%, or am I dropping it back to 60 to 70% and letting it turn a bit more? Because every situation's slightly different. You can't just blow your heads up here time after time. Sometimes you've got to play less weight. So it's that fine line of judging, right? How quick am I going? So I know that I've got basically 3 speeds that I go, and I've been judging before I make my mind up what shot I'm playing, right? What speed am I playing? And then I'm visualizing that shot a couple of times in my head before I actually go through and play it, because you don't want any indecision when it's the same with any shot, right? If you're indecisive when you jump on the mat to play, you're basically no chance of playing it. So committing 100% to the shot that you're playing is so crucial.
Trying to catch my breath there after the use of the word equilibrium. That was not blew my mind, that one. Ollie Forsyth, ladies and gentlemen. Mate, you touched on Platinum Pennant there. That brings me on to actually, I let a few people know that you were coming on for an interview. I've got an email from a listener. The name is Simone Littell. And that Simone has asked, this is Ali, big fan, long-time fan of yours. You're synonymous with, stay with me, boys. You're synonymous with the Tarrant Point Club. Ali, do you feel any guilt this year that you have abandoned Tarrant Point and they've got relegated?
No, none whatsoever.
There you go, Simone. You have it straight from the horse's mouth.
Oh dear.
I must say, so going back to last weekend, I obviously played for East Maitland. We finished our game Saturday afternoon, and I popped over to watch the boys play St John's Park Saturday night, and it was a very strange feeling because basically, this is the first year since 2008, so like you're looking at the best part of 17 years that it's the first time I haven't played in the Tarrant Point shirt, so it is quite a weird experience. There's only twice, I think. One was COVID, and the other time they had no flying. So, look, strange, but all good things come to an end, and who knows what will happen in the future. But, look, it was not something that I envisaged back in October, but it just wasn't meant to be. And, the stars didn't align for me to go back to Tarrant Point this year. And, East Maitland were pretty quick to get on the blower. And, I've really enjoyed the new challenge. It's one of the things that we're back at the starting point, I guess, in a lot of ways, with the Griffins, and it's been a great start. We've really enjoyed it, but who's to know what we'll bring in the future?
Hopefully, no more time with them.
Sorry, I couldn't.
Anyway, moving on. We've touched a bit on it, right? So the future for Ali Forsyth. Okay, mate, you've done a lot in the game. What is the one burning thing still there ready that you want to achieve before you hang it up?
Well, definitely, like a Commonwealth Games medal. I mean, as we talked about earlier, like there's a few scars there that have left an itch there that I've still got to scratch, and that's certainly the one of the main things, certainly internationally, that I'd love to have one more crack at. I don't know whether there'd be a chance for two, but who knows? I'm not putting a time frame on anything, but certainly, that's something that's burning in the back of the mind to try and go out there and get. I'm sitting on 9 New Zealand titles, so I'd really love to join a very illustrious crew that have got 10. So I've been sitting on 9 for 6 or 7 years. So it'd be nice to go out there and get that one ticked off as well. So those are the two main. I'd love to get another Australian Open because it's been way too long. It's 13, 14 years since I've won one of those. So there's little things along the way that I'm still putting the fire in the belly. But those would be the main three.
Okay, what does the immediate future look like for you, mate? What have you got coming up that you've got your eyes on? We talked about Platinum Pen, and we don't want to talk about that too much more because I hope you don't win it.
That's interesting because that's one of the major reasons why we've been playing so well. Just brilliant. Just to stick one right through you, prove you wrong. Sick of all the death riding and all the bullshit you're carrying on with. All the boys are going, right, if nothing else, let's just keep that DJ quiet for a week. And that's worked so
more than
well.
that. It'll take more than that.
No, so look, we've got obviously one more game of that, and then we're sitting second equal with no guarantee of playing finals. So it's a pretty crazy competition this year, but it's made it really exciting. Like even like our 7 wins, I think 5 of them been really, really close. So hopefully we can go out there against Warilla in the last round and put up a good performance and set us up for finals. But if it's not to be, I think it's a pretty good starting point for us. That leads perfectly into the AO. Obviously, that's coming up pretty early in June. And then after that, I've got a couple of week gap, and then I'm actually going over to Perth to try and qualify in the PBA for the first time ever.
Oh,
So going to try and win a trip over to Potters. So playing
Potters, nice.
World Indoor and singles and pairs. I'm not doing the other qualifiers because that's a separate weekend. But I thought, well, with what's going on, if I can, potentially trip over to Potters and maybe win a couple of games over there, that might just sort of help solidify a spot into the Commonwealth Games. So
Commonwealth Games selection in mind for that decision to go and play that.
I think so, largely. And also, you watch it every year and you go, shit, I wonder what that would be like, Not that many guys from the New Zealand, Australia have gone over there and done very well. And look at Omar. I mean, he got the I think he played Fozzie or Marshall first up and
played Fozzie
down. But it's like, well, for New Zealand, it's probably going back to Jamie Hill back in probably 05 that made the quarterfinals or better. So it'd be pretty cool just to go over in there and experience it and see how I go. So nothing ventured, nothing gained. So going over to Perth in July to have a crack at that and see how we go.
It would certainly be a different tournament to plan than the likes of the BPL, Ali, wouldn't it?
I would have thought so. And that's the one thing. And talking to a few of the guys, everything's so quiet over there and hush hush, and you can hear the lolly wrappers open and everyone cough and all that sort of thing. But Yeah, might be a bit interesting if I let a few missiles down to see how they react to it.
Yeah, that'll be actually good to see on TV. I actually might watch it if you were to make it over there. I think I might actually watch Potters for once. So yeah. Hopefully you do, and I might tune in.
No, very, very good. Wait, just doubling back to the Platinum Pennant, actually, because it's looking like this will be a two-parter. But next week, me and Simon's going to be talking about that. Mate, it is some finish, isn't it? Round 11 is shaping up. I had a chat with Simon about it earlier. There's only really 4 teams that don't have anything as such to play for, but every game matters. It's a phenomenal finish.
Right, because, I mean, even the teams 8, 9, 10, 11 are probably battling for not finishing 11th.
Yeah.
So they've still got a little bit riding on it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we're in a slightly good position in the fact that there's 2 games at 1 o'clock.
Yes.
So we'll get a bit of a look at what Engadine do against Mount Lewis, which has a direct effect on us. Yeah. And obviously the Cabramatta game against Marylands has a direct effect because Cabramatta have to win that game to get in front of us. So those 2 results will have a direct effect on, us and Warilla. As to are we just fighting for second spot or are we fighting for a spot in the finals just straight up? So it's good. It makes it exciting. You want every game to matter. Like obviously no one wants to be down the arse end of the table. But unfortunately, someone has to be. And I guess the way that relegation works is that, it keeps everyone on their toes. I don't know what that format looks like going forward, whether they have to play against teams that want to come into the competition or how that looks. I mean, it's going to be an interesting process, I guess, moving forward. But, there's a lot of good teams there with a lot of very good players and a lot of good teams playing well. So it's going to be interesting to see. It'd be kind of interesting, and this is certainly not death riding Cabra, but if they were to miss the finals, it becomes a completely neutral venue that, no one, because there's a lot of teams, and we're included, that we've been very good at home, and probably Raymond Terrace and a couple of others are in a similar boat, but we're not as dynamic away. So then all of a sudden that becomes a completely level playing field where everyone's playing away. So, it'll be interesting. I mean, I certainly expect Canberra to come out all guns blazing, and I don't expect them to lose, but, they're playing against a team that hasn't lost too, so...
No, that's it, and, they'll be looking at an opportunity to knock Cabra out. Like, we could be in a position where Cabramatta and St John's Park, 2 clubs that are powerhouses in everyone's mind, don't even make top 5.
Right. And no one in their right mind would say that at the start of the comp that that's going to happen. So, and that shows that how close the competition is. So it's healthy for the competition that everyone can win on the day.
Simon's looking at me funny there because I did say that one of them would make top 5. And I
do not want to give DJ an even bigger head, but he did say that, Ali, at the start.
Not both of them.
Not both, but he said St John's Park wouldn't make the top 5.
There you go.
So there you go.
He's been at me every week since.
Well, you've done well because you look at them on paper and you go, well, I'm not buying that. Like, we had a great game with them up at East Maitland, and for a long time the game could have gone either way. So you've done well to pick that, whether it's out of a certain area of your anatomy or not. It's
Simon looked at me funny when I said it, but it was in we obviously talk a lot off air as well as opposed to on the air, and I give him my reasons, and he struggled to argue with me after that. But not just when you sit down and look at the teams, you just sort of go, well, yeah, but. Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect you to make the difference you have. That's phenomenal. You're the MVP as far as I'm concerned.
But, I mean, in all honesty, the first 3 games I played, I missed the round 1. And round 2, 3, and 4, my influence would have been fairly minimal. Like, I had a pretty poor weekend when I came up to play the Saturday, Sunday, but we managed to forge out a win. And, if I played any half decent against Marylands, we'd probably win that as well. So the boys have put in a lot of hard work, and it's one of the things that I've found most pleasing is that, when we have a home game, that's 3 or 4 days, like prep at home, like no problems every day getting on the rinks.
Yeah.
The Raymond Terrace game, okay, we had a bad start. We only just went down in the end, but the boys all went over there and put plenty of time in on the track, and that's all you can ask. That yes, you get a couple of marquees coming in, but the heart and soul of those sides are the front ends, and our guys have been terrific. Ryan Bester and I often have conversations about the things, we talk about front ends win your games and the back ends decide by how many, and it still reigns supreme, that saying, and guys should never ever take for granted that, I'm just playing lead or 2. those jobs done well go a long, long way to winning games of fours.
Especially at that level, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely, because it doesn't matter who you're playing against. If you can get good players playing hard shots to losing heads,
Yes.
they're not going to succeed all the time, and they might play 8 good ends in a row, but the 2 ends they miss, you might get a 4 and a 5, and that's the difference who you're winning and losing. Because the front ends have done their work. I don't know. Like, I think it's an absolute fallacy, and especially at club level, that I'm picked to play lead or I'm picked to play 2. No, go out there. You've been picked there for a reason, that you're really good at setting up for the guys coming behind you. You need to have the faith that the people coming behind you can do finish off your good work. Don't undervalue the role that you play, because the higher you go, every role in that side, lead, 2, 3 skipper, is all important. You can't have a lot of passengers in a game, because you're going to get found out sooner or later.
Absolutely. There's some more insight for everyone too. It's turned into a good conversation. Mate, that's pretty much all the serious stuff out of the way, mate. So at this point, mate, thanks again for coming on and giving up the time and risking your contract with the club. It's written, mate. It's good to sit down, mate. It always is. Every time we catch up, it's always good to have a chat. So at this point, mate, just before we do wrap up, we'll go into the quick fire section, as we say. Just your everyday questions that Joe Blogs wants to know. It doesn't have to be super quick fire. Just basic questions, just to ask you about you and just to get a bit of more of an insight to you. So first one, mate, the obvious one: make, model, size of bowls.
As we talked about just before, so definitely Insolite. Probably 75% would be Tiger 2, but probably 25% Dreamline XG.
Yep, size 4.
Size 4, yeah, non-grip.
Yep, cool. Best green you've ever played on?
Oh, that's a toughie. It's probably the back green at Broadbeach. It's almost never bad. Like, I mean, even when it's average, it's still 90%. Like, it's just such a consistent green.
Nice. Favorite player to play with?
I'll say 3 for very different reasons, and I won't go into the reasons, but I'll say Chrissy Green, Wayne Turley, and Shannon McRoy.
It's a pretty fair rank. So it's pretty fair rank. Mate, any players out there that you hate to face for one of 2 reasons? 1, personally, they're just a nightmare. Or 2, ability-wise, you just know you're always in for a tough ask.
Oh, there's lots of those. There's and that's the beauty of coming over here. There's always one's personality-wise. I mean, look, if you're being straight up, like Aaron Sheriff's probably the hardest to come up against, because his consistency of play is just scary good. And you'd probably throw in an Aaron Wilson, because you just never quite know what's coming next. But you know it's good.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love the challenge of playing them. Like, I'm scared of no one, but those guys certainly create the biggest headaches. As such, so I'll probably leave it at that. Those 2 guys, I mean, phenomenal players, and I'm really looking forward to playing with Aaron Wilson at the AO and the 4s again, and it's a hell of a lot more fun playing with him than against him.
Who skips that one?
Oh, well, he did last year, and I did the year before, so it might be rock, paper, scissors this year.
Always a good way to settle it, mate. Always a good way to settle it. So we used to do that all the time. We did enter pairs tournaments at our indoor scene back at home. You get in the car with 4 fellas. It's rock, paper, scissors, right? You're playing with him, and then rock, paper, scissors where you're skipping. It's the best way to settle it. Takes all the selection dilemmas out of it. That's the way it should always be.
Yeah. Well, if the front two do their job, it shouldn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. Who's the front 2?
Turles and Sean Ingham.
Yeah, right. Okay, look.
If nothing else, it'll be entertaining.
Yeah. Mate, is there a favourite club for you to be at? Somewhere you visited, maybe that's your favourite place to be, or just a club that's really close to your heart?
Oh, look, outside of the 2 that I've played at, I mean, I think the obvious answer is Tarrant Point. That was some pretty special years that we were involved in there. So I think that's and Clayton certainly since then, absolutely. So the 2 clubs that I played at, phenomenal. The only other one that I'd say outside of that, I love going to Pine Rivers.
Yeah, okay.
The BPL up at the Pine Rivers is, it's my favourite time of year to get out and have a rumble. Like it's I don't know. It's just there's something about the place. The people around there are so friendly, and they can't do enough to make you feel, at home. And so that's probably the one that I haven't, like it's only once a year, but it's just a fabulous place to go.
Is that's the venue that you wanted?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny that.
It was Australian Premier League back then.
Yes, it was.
It was the third installment.
Yeah. So we'd had stronger years the first 2 years. The New Zealand side had won 12 out of 14 year 1 and 2, and then the format was 1 played 4, 2 played 3, and we lost the semi-final both times and was sold out. So they changed the format for the third one, thank Christ, because we didn't finish first, but we ended up going through and winning it. So it was, it's a lot of fun and great. It's a great concept, and I've been very lucky that I've been able to be part of that over the last 10 to 15 years.
Going to add this one in. It wasn't on that, but just while we're on that subject, how highly does that bowl rank in your career of all the good ones that maybe stick in your memory? How high is that one up there?
Well, at the time, I mean, it looked like I enjoyed it a little bit. Yeah. I mean, it's up there. Like look, you play the game to be involved in the big games and the big moments, and to play a bowl. Like, you don't very often get it to play a bowl to win a tournament. Like, it's actually quite rare. So it's pretty cool. Like, it's probably, I don't know. I actually played a better one in the semi-final against the Melbourne Royals. So I probably enjoyed that one more than the one in the final.
Yeah.
But it'd be top 10. I'm not going to be too hard on it, but there's quite a few others that, rate pretty high as well.
Looking back, I would say, me and you walked, so I was like, oh, geez, that's a good ball. Ali's like, oh, bread and butter.
Yeah, just another day. Well, funny you say that, DJ. Like, I don't know, many years, like, playing the same rink as Ellie, and you just, every week, you just go, there's some amount of snooker shots I've seen Ali play on the ball screen. He's unbelievable. I'll get the edge of that to get that. And the opposition would stand and look at you and go, who's this guy? Like, who does he think he is? And the next minute, bang. 2 balls will be gone, 3 balls will be gone, and they'd be looking at the head going, oh goodness, we're 3 down, 4 down, like, after holding a good position. But balls played, there's one alley that sticks in my mind. 2013, I think I'd only been here a year, our regional playoff to get through to state championships. DJ, this was played in the pitch black. I've never seen bowls played. We had no lights, no nothing. The game went on that long. It was pitch black at night. The guys were turning car lights on, so we had a bit of daylight. And Ali had a bowl to win, basically, to get us through to state championships. Last bowl in the dark, and crowds around the green. I'd never seen it before in my life. And I think that bowl, we ended up going probably 3 years unbeaten after that game. We easily could have been beat that night. And we went 3 years unbeaten after that bowl. And to me, that was one of the best bowls I've ever seen because it was in the pitch black. Unbelievable.
Draw shot, running shot, what happened?
Running shot. So it was funny because I actually played against Cam Curtis on the weekend. So it sort of got brought up because it was his, I played against, it was his bowl. And so the situation of the game was we were one, I think it was all square on the master board playing the last end. We were 1 down, and I peel the bowl out, and it was a 3/4 length end, and as Simon said, there's no lights on the green. So we were the second game of the day, and the first game, the greens run in 18, 19 seconds, and the first game didn't finish till 1:30, and then obviously the Premier League or the Premier final came on after it, so there was no lights on the green, closed all day, and we get down to that situation. I was just really lucky in the situation. We're playing against Cam Curtis, and he's got white coloured bowls. So, like, in a situation, I could see that if he had any other colour bowl that was dark, I was stuffed. I wouldn't have been able to see the bowl because it was in behind a couple of short ones. I don't know if they were Simon's or not, but
yes.
And so I've had to play like swinging weight around the front ones to peel it out. Cam's got one less, and he draws the shot back. And so I'm left with a situation where the head's changed. I've actually had to change my hand because I've had to play the other hand and run it out on the other hand, and I've come down and, picked the bowl out clean to win the zone title. And as Simon said, we've gone through and we've won the state one and went on our little merry way.
Yeah, all right. Nice trip down memory lane. All right, good. Good on you. Favourite country you visited, mate, playing internationally?
Was Fiji would take a bit of beating.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a tour there for about 12 days as one of our lead-ups for Delhi Com Games. And, that was a pretty cool place to go to.
Yeah, not bad. The next one, best friend off the green.
Is that excluding Kelly? Because, I mean...
No, we're not excluding anyone, mate.
Well, it has to be Kelly. You see, spend most of my time around her, whether that's in her best interest or not. But like we get on so well on and off the green, and I do spend a majority of my time with Kel and love it a bits, and wouldn't want to spend my time with anyone else really, especially with.
Get on you, mate. We've stopped recording. Tell us the truth, man. Any hobbies off the green now?
Well, I'm a golf tragic. I do, man. A golf tragic and sports punting. So love to have a bet on sport, baseball. I love my baseball. Social golf. I'm not good enough to worry any of the big boys that are going to play in major championships. But I love the game and just the aspect of getting out there and clear the air and have a nice trundle around and take some anger out on a little white golf ball.
Very good. Mate, favourite, you just mentioned all the sports there, but what's your favourite team outside of, what's your favourite sport outside of bowls, and what's your favourite team in that sport?
I don't know. It depends who's playing well, because they're probably making me the most money. It's probably the St. Louis Cardinals, probably, in the American baseball. Is probably still getting my money. I'm a Brisbane Lions fan, and New Zealand Warriors fan in the rugby league, but I don't follow those as much as I do the baseball.
The fact that you didn't say the All Blacks as a Kiwi, are you allowed back in the country?
I couldn't tell you the last time I watched a game of Union. It's almost impossible here in Melbourne to watch Union.
I mean, it's pretty impossible in Australia because they're not doing well. They don't want to watch it.
Right.
So the British Lions is coming up soon. I can't wait for it. But yeah.
I mean, I played Union back when at high school level. I honestly, if I sat down and watched it, I do not know the rules now anymore, and it's really frustrating to watch. Even with the rugby league, with the head-high contact and all that sort of thing, it's made it a big turn-off for me. I really struggle with it, and I understand the reasons around, concussions and protecting your head and all that, but I'd rather sit down and watch a game of baseball, which is a high-strategy game for me. Then that's where, that's what ticks a lot of my boxes.
So if they take the head-high contact out of bowls, are you going to stop playing?
Run them there and find out.
Oh, no. Simon, you want to go over and pat your face? Mate, you just touched on playing Union. Did you play any other sports when you were younger to quite a high level, or how high did you get, or was it just basically bowls?
So I was a pretty handy indoor carpet bowler. I played the Nelson Red team for a long time.
Isn't there a YouTube video somewhere, Ali? Have you played that?
Yeah. New Zealand champ singles final. So that was leading into the Commonwealth Games trial for 06. So I actually played an outdoor Commonwealth Games trial and then played that and then did a second trial. So it must have been 2005.
Yeah.
But so I played a lot of that. I played a lot of cricket. I was decent, sort of low level, up until under 16s. I played rec cricket, but got decidedly too big to be any good after that. And I was in the first 15 rugby team, but really I was just a hack, and I wasn't really much chop on the bottom of the rucks. I was just a soft target for someone to kick the shit out of. So I had a small injury when we did a high school tour over to the Gold Coast, and had a big unit sit on the back of my neck, and sort of got to the situation where this is not really my cup of tea, or am I really I think the All Blacks are pretty safe from me getting a run there, so I think I'm going to look elsewhere. And I'd already started bowls pretty seriously by then, so I was like, this is pretty comfy to give this one away. So I loved all sports, and then at high school I played table tennis and a few other bits and pieces, but not to any great level. But cricket, yes, to a half decent level. Bowls was probably the main one from 15 onwards.
Batter, bowler, all-rounder, what were you at cricket?
Yeah, jack of all trades, master of none. I left arm swing bowler, and dirty hack, probably bat 6 or 7.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Favourite food, mate?
Favourite food, probably Thai. I love the Thai food. Love spice. Anything that tests my palate I'm quite keen on.
Nice. Favourite drink?
Captain Morgan's.
Captain.
Yeah, I don't. To be honest, like I don't drink much anymore. I love a quiet drink, but because I'm driving quite a bit, I don't drink much. So I'm quite happy about that because I'm shithouse with hangovers.
Well, favorite drink could be a non-alcoholic drink. I know we're in Australia, Ali, but like,
yeah. How's water going to go for an answer? That's pretty bullshit. Like,
yeah. You can always say Pepsi Max like mine or something.
Oh no, terrible. Yeah, no.
Oh dear, mate. Favorite holiday location?
We haven't had that many that's not bowls related. We have tripped a fair while back over to the Barossa in Adelaide, and Kelly and I absolutely love the Barossa in Adelaide. That's a great spot. Overseas, a whole heap of different spots in Canada that are so bloody awesome. Love every time I get the chance to go over there and explore. There's a few places in Europe that I haven't been to that I'd love to, but that's a little bit further down the track once I finish competitive bowls.
We can recommend Northern Ireland, mate, pretty highly.
Yeah.
I spent a week there one day.
Oh, you spent a week there one day. I'm going to let that go. That's too easy. I'm going to let that go. You spent a week there one day. Simon, that does not get cut out.
That's not true. I've been to Dublin, but that's it.
Yeah, well
I know. Look, you're long side of the border.
Simon, cut the whole interview now. Good on you, mate. If you weren't playing bowls, mate, what do you think you'd be doing?
Oh, dearie me.
I hate to think.
Yeah, me too. It probably doesn't bear thinking about. I'd probably just be a hackabout golfer or a tragic poker player, maybe.
Yeah, cool. If you could change one rule about the game, what would it be?
Certainly an international level, they need to get rid of either respot or time limit. It's one or the other.
Yep.
I think we've doubled down, and it's probably taken. It's not taken part of the skill, but it probably adds to the luck.
Yeah,
I think it's a skill to be able to kill an end.
Oh, you no doubt about that.
But the respot will reward poor bowls, in my view. And I know it adds to the strategy of the game, but I don't like both of them. And I know it was brought in a while back. You know, I think we changed the rules of bowls internationally for the sake of one or two countries, instead of getting those one or two countries in line. So with the way everyone else plays in the spirit of the game, I just think that really has been an easier fix. But yeah, I don't know about. There's not too many other rules I'd change domestically.
Thoughts on the foot fault rule? It's the one that gets picked up on Facebook all the time. Social media is just, oh, mate.
I don't. Well, maybe make some decent mats where people can stand on them without falling over. Then people wouldn't have to stand over the front of them.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't care over the front, especially if it's for sake of a safety factor. Like when it's wet, I 100% understand why people do it, and there's no great advantage. If it was off the side, left or right, I would have a major issue.
Yep.
But off the front, I really don't care. And as I said, like if it's because it's the mat's slippery or it's wet, you know, health and safety, I'd take that. Like it doesn't worry me. I mean, I'm almost not on. I'm hardly ever on social media as far as all that stuff, so I don't follow it. But yeah, that sort of stuff doesn't worry me.
Final one, mate. The most important one. You've got to rate the What a Load of Bulls podcast out of 10.
Well, I'll give it a 7.5 because obviously Stewie gets 10 and you get 5, so then we sort of meet in the middle at 7.5.
Brilliant.
Mate, I have been laying awake at night all week thinking about that question, and I had no idea how you were going to answer. But I knew it'd be something along the line. Yeah, well, I can safely say, mate, this is, like we mentioned earlier, this will be a two-parter. It'll be our worst to listen to episodes out of everyone. We may have to take it off Spotify. No, mate, that's it. Sam, unless you've anything else to add, mate, just a massive thank you, Ali. This has been a lot of fun. Obviously, we've been here for nearly a couple of hours talking about you and your career, and Simon just loves name dropping you every chance he gets. You know, I don't know if everyone heard, but Simon used to live and play with Ali, but he only mentioned it once or twice in there. Mate, thank you for obviously braving the cold in Melbourne too. I know you've had to sit outside to get decent reception. Mate, we really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. This will be a couple of good episodes, I reckon. So thanks again, Ali, mate. It's been super.
Yeah, can you just get the ladder down so that I can get off the roof now? Like it wasn't easy to get enough reception.
Hey, mate, holding the phone in your left hand while bouncing on your right foot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. At least the equilibrium's working again.
Can you spell it?
No. Well, folks, that's been Ali Forsyth. I hope you really enjoyed that one. We'd love to hear some comments back about that one. If you have any other questions, we're happy to throw them at Ali, and we may have him back another time to have a bit of a chat. So, mate, thank you. It's been awesome.
No worries. Enjoyed.
Right, mate. So that was Ali Forsyth, the conclusion, part 2. I know you had to take a little second there to regroup yourself. Maybe you're a bit nostalgic, a little bit of a tear in your eye, going back to the old Tarrant Point days and living with Ali, mate. But how was part 2 of that interview for you?
Yeah, look, it was, as you say, it's a little bit nostalgic, winding back the clock to the good old days at Tarrant Point. But yeah, look, Ali's fierce competitor on the green, and obviously he's still got the fire in the belly and still wants to play at the top level, and he still wants to perform in the national stage as well, and got big ambitions and still got some goals to achieve, as much as Ali has won over his career so far, not only on a personal level but also at the national level as well. He's still got some goals that he wants to tick off before he hangs up the bowls and maybe dials it back a bit. But it's interesting to hear from his point of view, like how he goes about and setting those goals and makes it into sort of bite-sized chunks. Interesting that he's going over to WA and trying to get into Potters, and that he's using that as a bit of a stepping stone in terms of the Commonwealth Games, and that's what the elite think about. And you know, if you're a club player and you go, I want to win club singles, how do you go about that? You know, it's an interesting to look at it and go, you're not just going to rock up one year and all of a sudden win the club singles. So how do you break that down into smaller goals, and what can you try and achieve? Okay, maybe we'll try and make a quarterfinal berth one year. Maybe he'll play in a couple more tournaments. He'll play maybe a couple more singles tournaments. Maybe, you know, you break it into different little chunks that you can do over each year and gradually build up. Obviously for Ali, it's building up to the biggest stage there is in terms of long bowls and Commonwealth Games. And so how do you do that? You want to get through to a really big stage tournament, and that's what he's looking to do in terms of going over to WA and trying to qualify for Potters. So yeah, interesting to see that side of Ali and how he goes about his business on the green, and how he goes about his mindset in terms of preparation and things like that we looked at it in the previous episode as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see his elite mentality, isn't it? As you said, like, just the main goal, want to represent New Zealand at the Commonwealth Games. Backs a little bit against the wall, wasn't picked at the last World Championships. Alrighty, you know, he's still got that monkey on the back type of thing. Haven't won a Commonwealth Games medal. New Zealand men haven't won one for a long time. All right, so he's still got all in his head, and he's just looked, as he summed it up perfect, stepping stones to get to that Redo. How am I going to do it? And he's had a look, and he's gone, Redo, it's going to be an indoor carpet. Pretty confident it's going to be on an indoor carpet in Glasgow. All right, so he's going, well, what's my best way to prove that? To play on the indoor carpets. How am I going to do that? PBA. What does PBA lead you to? World Championships. You get over there, and you do well over there, suddenly it's like, let's have this. You know, so he knows what he needs to do. He knows he's in a good position to be picked. But what can I do to really just get in their faces and go, right, or you have to look at me again? You know, it's just really good to see that, because, like, we've all seen Ali play. Like, he's just, you've said it about 20 times, fierce competitor. There's none more fiercer. Or he's very outgoing in his fierceness on the green, you would say. And he's loud, he's boisterous, he likes to let people know. But from living with him, mate, he's not exactly that off the green, is he?
He's not. He's definitely not.
He's not breaking any land speed records around the house.
No. He's very laid back, very, very casual, really relaxed. And unless it comes to his sports teams and his betting, which obviously he spoke about as well, but no, he's completely different off the green, and would do anything for you. You know, if you're a good mate of his, and he'll certainly help you out, and completely different off the green.
But then on the back of his mind, when he is that laid back person, in the back of his mind, he's thinking, I'm going to Perth, I'm going to qualify in the PBA, I'm going to go to Potters. Going to do as well as I can, hopefully win Potters, and I'm going to go Commonwealth Games, we're going to win a gold medal. Like, it's, while he's just laying on the lounge watching Manchester United get beat by Spurs.
Yep.
So, I had to bring it up, mate. It's sad. It is what it is. No, it's just good to see, like I said, the mentality of some of those people to get that insight into Ali away from the green, what he is like off the green, what he is when he's just chatting to two blokes that he gets on with, you know. We'll chat with a mate that's you, and then just an acquaintance like me. So it was no, it was just really good. It was real fun. He's just full of banter as well, the big fella. So that was one of my favorite interviews, definitely. Yeah, folks, well, we hope you enjoyed that as much as we did. That was Ali Forsyth, and we'll be keeping a keen eye on Ali in the coming months and wishing him well at Clayton as he moves into a new role and they bring a coordinator underneath him. And Jeepers hope he's a good boss, man. Oh no, Kelly's the boss, isn't he? Isn't she?
Yeah.
We found that out.
We did.
Kelly's the boss at home. Kelly's the boss at work, but she just can't drive there.
Yeah.
So no, great fun. Hope you all enjoyed, folks. Be great to hear some feedback. If you have any further questions you want to ask, we're more than happy to ask Ali and bring that back to you another time too. So all the best. Yeah, we will be following the Australian Open too, pretty keenly, won't we, mate?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see how results go and some of the players we've interviewed over this last 12 months, and hopefully some of those players are going to be successful at AIO, and we'll certainly be following those results carefully.
Absolutely. All right, mate, just before we finish up, the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Champion of Champions singles. Bulls, New South Wales, Champion of Champions singles.
Yeah.
Simon Little converges on the Cabramatta Greens again Monday the 2nd of June. Right, mate. For all those that are looking on Bulls Link, Simon's in the men's draw. He's in section 44. Simon, who do you play?
Well, I've got to mark the first game. Group of 3. So I've got to get my markers paddles out for round 1, which is 8:45 start. And the two guys that we'll be playing the first game is Wayne Kearns from Ningen and Peter Ritalik from Yamba. Yeah, so that's my section. So I'll be interesting. I think for that first game, I'm actually glad that I'm marking first. So I get a little look at the two players playing, to be honest, the two competitors that I'm going to be competing against. So I think it's a bit of an advantage, really. What do you think?
Well, I was going to ask you that. I mean, it makes no difference to me. I'm not good enough to win singles games. So you're the current reigning Tarn Point singles champion. I was going to ask you exactly the same thing. So as we said, so for those that aren't familiar, section 3 means Simon's going to mark the first one. Doesn't know who he plays yet, though. He will play the loser of Wayne and Peter.
Yep.
So he will. And then the winner of that then goes to the third game in the day. And Simon plays game 2 and 3. The other guys, they know they play game 1, but they don't know if they play game 2 or game 3 yet. All right? So does that play on their mind too? Don't know. But yeah, I was going to ask you, man, as I said, you sort of like this way. You don't mind because you know you're going to play back-to-back games 2 and 3 no matter what.
Yep.
But don't know your opposition yet, but realistically, they're all coming from all over the state. Do you really know them? You know, they're gonna know you from your stellar performances for Tarn Point and the Platinum Pennant. Yeah. But you don't know Wayne and Peter from Adam, I assume.
No, I don't know the guys. I don't know the names. So look, I think that's, I don't know. You'd nearly prefer if you play somebody you knew because at least you know what you're up against. Whereas, these two guys could, be really good players that I don't know, obviously, but we'll see. And I think that's why I've kind of liked the mark in the first game. So I get to see what kind of performances they put up in the first game. So, it'll definitely give me a bit of insight and maybe some strengths and weaknesses I might be able to have a look at and see how my tactics will go for the first game then, round 2, and also round 3 game.
See, if there's anyone listening to this is going to think, well, this isn't fair. Him marking, he's going to have an unfair advantage. So you've sold that pretty well, man. I'm convinced. So marking first game is the way to go. So it is. So if you get that draw, folks, you are well on your way to winning the championship. So how's the rest of your draw look like, man? If you're good enough to get over that game or get over that section on the Monday, do you know where you go on the Tuesday?
Yeah, look, I've had a look to see where I'd actually go. Look, I'm not too fussed about who I'd actually play because you just got to take every game as it comes. But it's interesting to see where you'd play and what, because obviously I want to look at what kind of bowls I'm going to use, what kind of greens I'm going to be playing on. So I play my group game at Cabramatta. I think once it gets into the knockout stage, I'd end up playing the next game at Mount Lewis. And then I'd have to play the game after that, would all go to Marylands, where everyone would be at then, into the final sort of knockout stages. So interesting that I'd play over 3 different venues. So definitely have to keep my wits about me if it gets to that and I manage to get over the line in the group stage and maybe win another 1 or 2 knockout games. I'll be playing at 3 different venues.
So round 1 and round 2 after the knockouts will be played on the Tuesday. Rounds 3 and the quarterfinal will be played on the Wednesday, and then the semis and the final will be played on the Thursday. So, any big names in your half of the draw that you've seen, mate?
There is one on sort of my half of the draw, and that was one young Jack McShane that we've been speaking about.
Current world champion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mate. All interesting. Looking forward to see how you go. Good news. I'm not coming down to commentate on that one for you, so no added pressure.
Thank goodness.
But, I think I'll be all done out on the Thursday and the Friday. So will, but yeah, looking forward to it. Tune in again next episode, whether it be next week or the fortnight. We'll decide that over the coming days. But tune in again then, folks. We'll have a roundup of Platinum Pennant, who actually got out on top, what happened with those round 11 games that we've been talking so fondly of, and the big one, how's Simon going in the champions?
No pressure
at all, man. Pressure's for tires. That's it. That's why I was talking on it. Pressure's for tires. But that is it, folks. Part 2 of Ali Forsyth roundup, or not a roundup, but look forward to the Platinum Pennant final weekend. Simon's champion singles, and for all those playing very soon, make sure you keep that little disc on the inside.
And good luck on those greens. The views, information, or opinions expressed during What a Load of Bulls podcast episodes are solely those of the individuals involved and do not represent those of any group, organization, or employer associated or affiliated to individuals. This podcast is for general information purposes only, to educate and inform. This podcast does not constitute professional advice or services. What a Load of Bulls does not guarantee the accuracy or reliability of any opinions expressed or statements made within episodes.